Alright guys, so what are we, whoa, back it up. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to do some work on the Barber Jeep. What is this beautiful machinery that you might be asking yourself? Well, last year I was challenged by a couple of guys to build the fastest power wheel we could on a $200 budget, and I think we had like 6 weeks, or I don't remember the time frame, but we run a time frame and a budget. Here's what it is. Check it out on the channel. I have a whole playlist we raced to see who was the fastest. I'm not going to tell you who won, but I will say that I did bring home that. So if you want to watch it, go ahead and watch it on the channel right now. But recently I was driving this thing around and I was thinking, I don't have a budget. I don't have a time frame. Let's make this thing a little bit better. And that's what brings us to this video today. Let's get to it. Let's get dusty. Before we break into the more complicated things, let's tackle the easy first. The fuel cap lid, as you can see, when we started to race this thing was broken, and I actually just epoxied it back together, and it didn't really work too well. So, I bought a new one. Upgrade 1 complete. I shouldn't have done that. I gotta clean this up. I don't have enough subscribers to have someone clean my shop for me. And now the second thing, I'm bringing you guys all the way down, is you see back here, I can still trying to get used to my arm again. The chain is super duper duper loose. So I want to fix that. I want to put a chain tensioner on that. If you actually watch the initial build of this thing, I was going to do that and then I decided not to, but recently my nephew rode this thing and the chain popped off, so I thought I probably should do that. So that's going to be the bigger one that we're going to do, is I'm going to add a chain tensioner to this thing. Future me here. Now let me interrupt you for just a second to let you know the chain tensioner that I'm building right now, or that you're going to watch me build, sucks. It didn't work at all. I thought it worked, didn't work. Now when you get to the point in the video when I test drive it, you hear the machine making a clunking noise. Now I assumed that was the belt because I knew the belt was already half gone. Apparently it was the chain the whole time. So what I ended up doing is after the video was all filmed, I was editing it, I went back out and I built a brand new tensioner. That didn't work. So what happened originally was the chain had exploded off. When I redid the chain, I ran it up here for some reason, and that's where I started to find the wear marks. So all I did was I just moved the chain to underneath this bar, took out the extra links that I added, and now it's fine. But I put so much time and effort into building that chain tensioner, I'm going to make you watch me build it, and you can tell me exactly why it didn't work, because I know why it didn't work. But now how am I going to do that? How am I going to add the chain tensioner? Well, I actually originally bought this sprocket bearing, is what I'm going to call it, for the build itself. Never used it because I needed to cut down on a little bit of cost halfway through, and then it became a little bit of, I want to make sure I got done on time, so I never actually built it. So we're going to use this sprocket gear and a trampoline spring. So the plan will be is I will run a bolt through here, attach it this way, and then I will attach this up on higher up on the frame, and then I'll make a pivot arm that comes here. I'll weld that pivot arm to another pivot point on the frame, and then it'll just hold it up, and that should work, essentially. So let's start cutting, welding, grinding, fabricating, all that fun stuff. All right, so the plan is I need to cut this piece out right here. Don't look at that. That was no-go. I'm going to cut this out, put a hole in that center there, and then I'm going to cut this out, hole. Sorry for the wind noise. You are directly in line with the fan, but it's over 80 degrees in the shop. It's very hot. I want the fan. I apologize here. So I'm going to drill the holes first, because I think drilling the holes in the bigger metal is a lot easier when you have itty-bitty pieces. This one, not so much I can get in the vise, but the other one with the radiuses, it's going to be easier to drill it while it's squared up, and then the vise can hold it compared to later on. That should make sense to you. Don't laugh. Yeah, cool. Snap the drill bit. That's... But I haven't been in the shop in a while. If you haven't followed my other videos, I had shoulder surgery like 6 weeks ago. So I'm trying to be back. I'm excited to be back. And now this is giving me a headache. I guess there's nothing else to do but to be like a mom at a 3-year-old's birthday party. Start grinding. That was a joke. So this may be a terrible idea. We shall see.
Not sure why I didn't tell you guys what I was doing here, but you're probably wondering why we're at the lathe. So I took some nuts and I threaded them onto a bolt, put the bolt into the lathe, and what I'm doing is I'm making some sleeves. I'm taking those nuts and making them completely rounded over, and then I'll take them over to the drill press and then I'll drill out the threads, basically just making a bunch of little tiny sleeves.
I just dropped it. I don't know where it went. And I'm afraid to walk too fast, and I'm afraid I'm going to kick it all over the place. Super, awesome, great, fantastic. Why wouldn't I lathe up extra? Just mill up exactly what you need and call it good. Stupid. Before I weld these sleeves onto my little tiny pieces, I want to make sure everything was straight. So what I did is I sunk bolts up through the bottom of the fabrication table, and because these still have the threads in them, I just secured everything down, and now I'm just going to tack weld these on so the sleeves will on, and then hopefully I'll just be able to unthread those and I'll have my pieces the right way. And then after that, then hopefully I can drill out the threads. So something that I probably should have thought about, but didn't, is the fact that when metal gets really hot from welding, it can expand, and when it expands, it doesn't want me to let the bolt out of this sleeve nut thing that I made. So basically what I did is I welded this to my table and I cannot get it out. And it being 80 degrees in the shop sucks. I'm gonna have to cut it. I have a lot more time into this than I want to admit, but here's the setup right now. So this part right here, which I remade because I didn't like how small it was and how thin it was, this will weld onto the frame, and then it pivots at that bolt point. I use that sleeve inside here with that bolt, so it has a pivot on it, and then it also, so then I got the sleeve, the other sleeve that I did right there, and then the spring will hook to here, and then it will hold it up in the air, and hopefully that works. That's the plan. Actually, it's going to sit just like this. Frame, spring, hopefully this works. I'm going to go weld this now onto the thing. Alright, so I got the chain tensioner is actually welded on and partially in. Before I actually do the tab where the spring's going to sit up top, because if you remember I mentioned I did not like how the stance was with the ride height, it looks slanted. To fix that and combat that is I got this. So I'm going to put a new 1-inch bigger shock in it. This is adjustable, it's more heavy duty, because when you ride that thing, it squats so hard. So, but it's going to affect the ride height, so I want to get that installed. It should be simple, and then that will tell me where to mount my top tab for my spring. So hopefully this new shock install is easy, because the rest of it has not been at all. If you followed this build in the actual beginning when I did it, I moved my strut up, the mount up, so that it would kind of help me with that clearance problem that I had, because I couldn't afford the new, better rear shock. And now when I did that, since I had the bigger shock, this is the old shock, it now hits the crossbar and I can't get it to do that. So now I have to cut those mounts back off after I fixed it before and then relocate them. So I rebuilt the strut tower. I added about 3/4 of an inch to it so it would fit around that thing. I think it looks great in there. It does raise it up. We'll see how it feels to ride it when I can actually ride it. Now we can actually finish up the chain tensioner now that the shock took me an hour. It should have took me 10 minutes. Alright, this thing should work. So here it is. So the spring runs up to that tab up there, and then it pivots over on here. I'm gonna have a locking nut on the end of that thing right there, but that should work. We should be all set to go on there. Struts in, tensioner's in,
throw a quick coat of paint on there and move on.
And so, I know this sounds really weird, but this thing was missing one of these hub dust cap things here, like I got that I'm missing right there. I was missing one of them, so I bought all new ones, 4 new ones. That's one of the little things that I'm doing to this thing, because it just felt weird missing the one. Here we go. Now do the rest of the tires. So now I'm just going to add these plugs so I can just plug and play. I don't have to cut the wires every time I take the body off. Game changer. Alright, we added the chain tensioner, we beefed up and put a brand new rear strut on there, new gas cap, new, I'm going to call them hubcaps, I don't know what you'd call them, and we painted up some of the ugly parts, made them a little prettier, and we even supercharged it. So a couple little things were done on this thing to make this thing better, and now I say we go out and have some fun and see how it handles now. So one of two things just happened. Either I completely fried my torque converter, or the belt just gave way. I think it's the belt. I knew the belt was pretty crappy to begin with. I bought the cheapest torque converter I could when I was doing the competition. So I have an extra belt for it. It smells like the belt, but I'm gonna pull this off. This cover off and see everything is super duper hot. Oh yeah, the belt is toast. Whew. Yeah, that was the belt. Whew, that's hot. Yeah, I'd say that belt is completely fried. Again, ow, shish kebabs, that hurt. Like I said, I knew it was happening. I do have an extra belt, so I'll pull that off. So the new shock gets this thing up. It's a lot more stiff. It's actually more comfortable, and you're not like this so bad that you actually can turn a little better because your weight is a little higher on the steering wheels. So that's awesome. But yeah, we just need to put a new belt on her. I should be ready to rock and roll. I've yet to see a person who has seen this thing in person or rode this thing that didn't think this thing was sweet. So still very proud of it. I'm sure you'll see it again. If you want, check out all my videos on how I built it. Maybe check out the one in the winter when I was just drifting around. Thanks for watching. See you guys on the next video. And my nuts just hit the ground. Found it, don't worry.